the thing that intrigues me with Barnes & Noble, they keep improving the in-person experience. And this is going to be another post we're going to come up to at some point, hot in 2026. There was something in here about authors needing or wanting to get offline. There we go. The rise of the analog bag. Hopefully I can sort of read this too. But it's the idea that we want to get offline and read actual real books because it's like a way to like de-stress from everything. So these people, so they're getting it and they're looking at a lot of data. And so that has got me very interested for us as authors. What should we know or pay attention to? So Barnes & Noble is in growth mode, and they were struggling for a while, partly from being a good example of how to save a brand. I'm interested in what it means about why they're doing it. So back in the 90s, Daunt, he's the guy who's flipping this thing around. He was a former banker, and he set up his own indie bookstore called Daunt Books in the UK in 1990. Let's skim through a little bit. It's now grown to 10 locations. Oops, highlighting skills. It's grown to 10 locations, and it was the genesis of Barnes & Noble New Culture, rooted in, quote, flattening hierarchies and empowering people at the store level, letting individual stores control the makeup of their store teams. And that's what's so fascinating. It's a return to an artisan feel. Every Barnes & Noble is different because there's different people in there, and they are paying attention to what people are mostly interested in and buying in their area, and then curating that for that area.
I've noticed that, when you walk out of Barnes & Noble now, there's someone there who is asking about the books that you're buying, and they're like, "Ooh, have you read this one?" And it's like they're having a conversation with you about the books. It's not just like, "Okay, thank you for your purchase today. Have a nice day." They're actually engaging you, and they have recommendations for you.
Interesting. I don't go there enough. I actually mostly go in because I don't know, I have a guilt savior complex, and I just buy cool books, not for me because they're expensive, but I buy them for my little girl because she absolutely needs to have books for herself. Nice. And I might go through the dollar section if I can, but like, yeah, I have a complex relationship with bookstores.
I have yet to find the dollar section of a Barnes & Noble. Maybe it's just where I live.
They hide them. Actually, you know what? You're right. I'm confusing this with Books A Million. Books A Million had a savings section. Now you're right. I could never find them at Barnes & Noble. I thought I was going crazy. Two different brands. All right. So there you go. His philosophy, which I think it feels like such a Diagon Alley approach to life, which is like rules. Make the bookstores interesting and attractive as possible. And within it, have friendly, informed booksellers who enjoyed their customers and their jobs. This shouldn't be distinctively different from most bookstores, but it was. Austin says he needs to go to Barnes & Noble to get the new Dresden Files book. Do you recommend Dresden Files? Looks like you do. I'm still third of the way through reading the first one. I've never actually read it. I need to get into reading it. Apparently it releases on the 20th. Go Dresden. If that's a thing they say. The cool kids. So, let's see.
Deja vu?
What?
I just got deja vu for a second. I feel like I've heard somebody say that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Go Dresden. There you go. So, let's see. Let me just skip forward. So he wants to run them well. And that means nicely presented stores. Blah, blah, blah. He moves up into the United States. And let's see, it's extremely costly to have a massive infrastructure to make every single store interesting and unique. And so just decentralize it. Push that responsibility down to the individual stores, and they'll do that much better.
Which honestly just makes sense to me, even on just the plain old efficiency level. Like, I mean, if individual people can do it, if you can spread out the work, why would you do it all in the center? Let each one do their job individually. Yep.
Agreed. And, it's also kind of cool. I remember I was over in Arizona for a while. I was taking my wife to some medical care stuff. And what blew me away was driving around, where were we? It was Scottsdale. We were driving around Scottsdale. I could not believe how everything looked. It was a bit like Arizona Disneyland in the sense that all of the buildings and all of the homes and the roof styles and the materials that they used were all like local for that area, built on a theme, built intentionally. It kind of like driving around was like, okay, it all looks like a bunch of modern homes and stuff, but it all looks intentional to this area. Nothing here looks like New England.
Wow.
Nothing here looks like Virginia. It looks like I'm in Arizona land. And of course, the whole state looks like it's been deep crispy fried. So they're using materials that work for how hot it gets there.
Yes.
And so Why do I bring that up? It's because when I go there, it would kind of make sense that a Barnes and Noble or stores in that area are going to have the vibe and more of the culture and the
Yep.
needs of that area. It's just cool. It's why we travel around. I mean, 10 years
Exactly.
from now, I want to see what happens with more of this kind of, decentralizing for bookstores, because then
Yeah.
a book crawl across a couple of states is going to be a really fun experience,
Yeah.
right? Plus different coffees, especially they keep doing better with coffee stores and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who knows what the future of something like this could be. Okay, so there you go. It's increasing its focus on the shopping tastes of local communities. So scrolling down, I think mostly to the bottom, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, as soon as you get in, and this was supposed to be the next article, and that's basically that. What I was hoping we could get through in this one here was so many. They're just putting up so many new stores, and I know that as soon as you walk in, there's like Book Talk, like right in front, and they've got pop-up
Yeah.
stands, and it's like all over the place. And like, okay, go with obviously what pulls people in, but then that means something else for the rest of us. It means that we want this.
Yeah.
It's not going away. Who was I talking to the other day? I can't remember who it was. Somebody was saying something like books are recession-proof, which is a bit nuts and awesome. No matter what happens kind of in the culture, we're still buying books. Like, don't
Yeah.
you dare to, you can mess around with my milk and my gas and I'll hate you for it. Don't you dare touch my books.
I don't need to eat. I have to read.
Yeah, there you go. Looks like the in chat they're saying Jim Butcher connects events in book 1 all the way into later books like book 10. So if you like connections across a whole series, I can't believe that they don't have
fun.
a better TV series than the one that we got. That just looks like it could be such a cool thing. All right, so let's jump over to this one here. We're talking about analog bag fashion's answer to doom scrolling. And I think in here is a reference to buying books. We want to get real things to get offline, to have more of that in-person experience. Where was that little thing that somebody said, hey, check this out? Let me scroll down. So the catalyst for the analog bag, which has reduced her screen time from 7 hours a day to 3, came from reading a book, The Power of Habit. And there are 3 components of a habit: cue, routine, and reward. So instead of trying to eliminate a bad habit, it's so much better to keep the cue and the reward and then just change the routine. So reach for a bag of screen-free activities instead of her phone, also called a TBR, and a buckling side table as a way to stay sane. So maybe it would be hilarious in the future. What's your sanity metric? Here's the size of mine over on my side table. It's like I've got tons of things to get through. Scroll down. What is this? This is an ad, I think. All right, well, that was basically that. Basically, the idea is, maybe it was not in this article, but more and more people are turning to books. And I think it's an encouraging thing, because I think I did not keep it here. Some people were talking, I saw it on Substack, they were talking about, we'll get to this article in a second, they were talking about nobody's reading. It's almost impossible to find and to be able to make sales. And it's becoming more and more impossible. And somebody on Substack had this hilarious idea of like, we just need to troll as hard as political pundits do and straight up lie and just, create dumpster fires to start getting attention because it's working for them. Why do we got to be the good guys? And we're like, well, I know what you're saying, but like, and the algorithms pay attention to this sort of stuff.
Let's discuss that.
Yeah. What do you lose by doing that? I'm not sure that's a good idea. To look at news like that from Barnes & Noble is like, okay, it's just a matter of finding the right thing.
Exactly.
And I think if we as indie authors, obviously we're talking about traditional book setups, and that's a massive thing to get into. I'm really interested in what happens with the rise of indie books. Mm-hmm. So I didn't bring this up, and I was thinking about doing it. Let's go there now for a second. Let me see.
It's really exciting to think about how indie books could do in the future, because, recently, Goodreads Choice Awards, so like the most popular books of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of them started out as indie authors. Like you think of Powerless by Lauren Roberts, who, by the way, has the same cover designer as me.
Oh, really?
Top of the Goodreads bestseller list. Top of the Goodreads Choice Awards list, New York Times bestseller. Okay. She was indie published. Frida McFadden.
What about your that sort of Hogwarts fan fiction that became its own thing that's like huge? You were telling me about.
Alchemized. Yep, yeah. Same thing.
Wasn't that also indie?
Sort of. It was on like AO3. It was like, it wasn't Wattpad, but it was like it was on a fan fiction site. Yeah. So it's really the only not issue, but the only thing I'm noticing so far is that in order for people to pay the kind of attention to these books where it gets into the Goodreads Choice Awards and it gets into the actual bookstores kind of a thing, is that first the traditional publisher has to pick it up. I would be really fascinated for the next step is just to have indie authors just be there on their own.
Yeah. And so then the question is, what do you got to do to get that kind of attention? But I think I saw this in this past year, and I keep coming back to this. It's such a great example. I think that the author for Silo, the huge Apple series,
yes,
I think he was an indie author, and I should literally go up and look this up. So I'm just not
well, The Martian was indie published,
and then they've just absolutely blown up. So there's like, I think that this is my working suspicion. These mega companies and whatever, they're recognizing we're getting a lot of slop written for the market, and that is being, turbo shipped to agents and everything everywhere, and it's just exhausting, and there's nothing unique about it, and rightly so. And then you add to that, which is partly what this article here is. Am I pointing the right way? This article here is about, which is we're now seeing a rise of AI stuff, slop, that is crafted not even for people. It's purely crafted to rip off the algorithm and to steal market share and steal money away from actual creators. That's just not going to stop until we start doing some maybe simple little stuff to validate and sort of verify human authorship, human creativity.
Right.
At this point, I think I'm all for that. I'm not all for witch hunts for anybody using AI at any part of the process.
That gets messy.
Yeah, I'm 100% somebody creating a bot farm or a factory farm to study trends, create slop, auto post it to try to steal money away from actual creators. We should absolutely, I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't demonetize that, or at least not allow them to earn money. If that's going to happen, fine, can't stop it, don't have to pay for it. Absolutely needs to go to creators. I think this is going to keep happening for indie authors, and I think that there might be some kind of a talent scout thing, and they may even be using AI as well to do it. Where are we seeing rave reviews on brand new titles with less numbers of bloated reviews, but these reviews seem like they're really written by real people and they're very intentional, right?
Right.
Or where authors like really, small YouTubers with really intense communities, what are they writing, and see if there's like a thing there, right?
Right.
How can this not be I have a sense this is where stuff's going to go. So this article here was what I just literally described is coming out of this article. The case for paying 25% of Spotify tracks at zero. What he's saying is there's an influx in Spotify of bot farms just creating and shipping stuff. Now, again, one thing is when you're using AI to help you with part of the creative process. Another thing is when a bot farm is simply printing industrial factory line stuff and just shipping it, not with any intent of building an audience, purely to get streams, to steal and take money away. The more that happens, as you can see, Spotify has a fixed royalty pool that it can pay. It can't distribute that towards actual authors because it's all being captured by outperforming robots. So his answer for it was actually kind of cool. I thought it was pretty cool. Was you just create a simple identity verification thing. The same way that if you want to make money anywhere else online, you got to show like, you got to validate human authorship. Right? You got to do it on Meta. You have to do it on,
excuse me,
I don't know, Stripe, like anything. Here's a copy of my driver's license, which solves most things, right? If you can't do that within a fixed time frame, you get nothing. And if you can, you validated human authorship.
I think
it's an awesome idea.
Perfectly valid. I think it's valid. I think it's simple, straightforward. Doesn't seem to have a lot of like hiccups. No. It just looks good.
I think so too. I think it adds, and then it instantly, like this sort of red line, that instantly goes away, and boom, authors go back to doubling, tripling, maybe even finally being able to make enough to actually kind of survive, depending on depending on that amount. I was researching a topic on Amazon Kindle and looking for additional books, and absolutely frustrated at the amount of overtly, purely AI shipped stuff that was dropped into there. Covers are bad, titles are bad, descriptions are bad, content inside was absolutely created by AI and then just shipped to Kindle. That needs to go away.
Yeah, it does.
It does not deserve to
Immediately.
compete, right? Anyhow, so that's the whole thing. Again, for those who think like, oh, he's an AI, what do you call it? Shill. It's like, no, I'm against slop from
Right,
AI and
exactly.
from people. Okay.
I
I was
don't know the
curious.
logistics of this, but I almost wonder if there should be like a separate site. Like, here is Amazon Kindle and here is Kindle AI, which I'm not sure. I don't understand why people would read AI. Do you think they don't recognize that it's AI? Do you think they're reading it and they're like, oh, well, maybe this is actually a book? Like, I don't understand why someone would willingly pick up that book when there is.
As it is right now, slop is being shipped on the hope that it will take away some money from others, purely by there being, when you search on a topic, there's 50 options that are AI generated. And half of them, for example, might be, this is exactly what's happening over on Spotify. It's one creator creating 10 profiles and shipping the same content on all profiles. As a way to like maximize the chance of getting streams and stuff. Well, that's happening over on Kindle too. You see multiple people who have like one book, 0 time on platform, 0 engagement on anything, 50 books. And you're like, wait, hold on. How in the last year? Like, okay.
Right.
So it's because you get millions of people using Kindle, some portion of that, of course, ends up creating enough money for them to be able to keep playing the game. And now obviously people buy this stuff because there's millions of people who don't have time to read everything, and they're assuming that a book means somebody put a ton of thought into something.
Gotcha.
But over time, I think we're going to continue wising up, just like we did in the early days of the internet, and especially as we get past what happens when there's like a new tech, right? Like with TV and then with the internet, people who are native to that tech know when it's crap.
Right.
As opposed to people who are still kind of getting used to it or being introduced to it. So in the past, it was like, well, I saw it on TV. It must be real. And then the TV generation goes, you can't believe everything on TV. And then the generation after that goes like, you can't believe anything online anymore with like AI. And then those of us who are digital natives go, when could you ever? Like, it's mental hygiene. You don't trust anything.
Anything at all.
And
assume it's a lie.
Well, it's a book and it was available for sale and there was a real author. It's like, did you look at the reviews? Did you Google them online? Did you use AI to do a pulse check, or audit of the state of who this person is? Like anything, like triangulate your data. Anyhow. All right. What do you think, Gabby, about this one? Chapters are shrinking to suit the short attention span of TikTok readers. Have you heard of this? Are you familiar with anything like this?
Actually not that specifically. I haven't heard that take on it, only for the fact that, to my mind, the way that I've always, seen books do it, it's that there are short chapters for different kinds of books and long chapters for other. So there have always been short chapters. I'm thinking of, there's Ali Condi, who wrote the Selection series. She also wrote this book called The Last Girl in Town, or something very close to that. I really enjoyed it. It was a YA book, so maybe 300 and change pages long, and it had like over 100 chapters.
Okay.
And this was, I suppose it was around the time of TikTok, but it was before I'd heard anything like this. So I don't know necessarily if the chapters are inherently shortening because of TikTok, because then there are others like Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. That thing is a brick and the chapters are long, and that also was relatively recent around the time of TikTok. That said, I can see the appeal to that because I've been trying to do this myself where, okay, we're talking about trying to like get away from, the phone and the media and the stimulation and stuff. Okay. So I read over 100 books last year.
Wow. I was going to say, you're always awesome for just dropping titles for whenever you want to talk about something.
It's just, again, it's just the, like, I don't know. Sometimes I just sit there and I decide to pick up a book and I decide to read it. And last year I did that a lot. and I'm tired. I wouldn't say I'm in a reading slump because I'm not. I still want to read. I just want to read slowly. But I have noticed that because of last year, particularly in December, because I wanted to hit my goal of 100 full-size books. So I read 100 full-size and then like 16 that were either like graphic novels or they were a little bit shorter or something like that. I read 27 books in December alone. Wow. And so because of that, the mindset for me at that time was get it done. I want to feel the accomplishment of finishing a book. And so now I'm having to like almost untrain myself from that, because when I sit down and I read a chapter of whatever else the case may be, I get a little shot of adrenaline when I finish a chapter. Right. Not adrenaline, dopamine. I get a little shot of dopamine when I finish a chapter. And so it's really hard for me to not try and like tear through it and count how many pages I have left and zip through as fast as I possibly can. I'm reading this book right now called The Red Palace by June Her. Very good. It is a Korean historical mystery, and I love it. Korean as in the set in Korea. The author is Korean American, I believe. And the chapters, they're not excruciatingly long, but they're not short. They're like, 15, 18 pages or whatever, which is about 15, 18 minutes of reading. And so I am having to consciously be like, stop, slow down, take the full 20 minutes to read the thing. It's okay. Don't try and shoot through it. So while I have not heard of this before, and while I think there have always been short chapters and there will always continue to be long chapters, I do see the appeal of this.
It doesn't, well, let me get to chat just for a second here. So Victor was saying, going back to talking about AI, being a video professional and having an eagle eye for AI stuff, I am more and more getting a good chunk of a way through a video before realizing it's AI. It's true. It's becoming very good. The only difference is, to my mind, when you can tell the script of a video was AI and then they put it through some, like a generator that just attaches artwork to it, and then they just run off the video and then ship it. And then you're like, I don't even know if I can trust this. Like the number of videos that I found on this, I can't stand them. Absolutely hate them. Then like the second tier of thing that I can't stand is when I see somebody very earnestly sitting on screen and they're speaking out of AI stuff, like you can tell the script and then they're reading it word for word. You can develop a style and AI can kind of mimic it, but there's a point at which AI has a default style on its own. And I have a hard time when I see an author or somebody and I can see you're reading a little teleprompter on your screen and it's straight out of chat. And I'm like, okay, do 5% of your own something to like make it a little more you. But I can understand, why chat can be very helpful for it. But it's like, I still gripe at that because I'm like, I want to know that something actually genuinely came from you. Anyhow. So, but yeah, they are getting better. Can be a cool thing.
What's funny is that I've noticed that the picture, like the video quality of AI has gotten really good. What hasn't is the words. It's the speaking part that just sounds so stilted, and I can tell it's like I'm thinking specifically. Sometimes it's a joke, like two people will make a joke, and I'm like, that wasn't even funny, and then the laugh that the people do is just horrendous. I'm like, that's not how humans laugh.
Oh gosh, yeah, I can't take that.
Like when they have the babies, and they'll have like a baby say a full sentence that no baby can ever say.
Yeah.
And then the adult just reacts as if it's the most hilarious, innocent thing that they've ever heard. And I'm like, no, have you hung around a baby?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a weird fun house. Victor says, I flipped through almost 100 books last year. I was proud of myself. I think I probably downloaded 100 Kindle samples because I don't have enough money to like buy everything I want. So like, do I want to come back and reread that sample when I'm done? Like that's maybe an indicator. Like, am I thinking about it a month later? Okay, I should probably come back and buy it.
That's a good idea.
The funny thing about this here, though, looking at the size of chapters, I'm not sure that this is really I kind of want to say it might be a nothing burger conversation, only because, one, chapters have to start somewhere. Two, I grew up reading Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Three Investigators, Trixie Belden, like all of these, multi-series, completely predictable. And that's why they were awesome. Every single book was exactly the same as the others, and it's exactly why I loved them. the plots are incredibly formulaic, and that was to their glory. And the chapters were short, intentionally, to keep you going and keep you with that feeling of progress and stuff. So it's always been a thing. And so they're comparing, book talk stuff, which is its own argument, to a lot of classical stories. Like, these are books that were never, I'm going to assume they weren't written for a book talk generation. They were written for the 50s, 40s generation. Kids who are more mature, a little older, 4,500 words. You pick up any adult book, I'm sure it's a little slower, it's probably more like this. I'd be curious to know what Danielle Steele, how long, or Tom Clancy, how long, or Stephen King, like those chapters are like, hold my word count, let's just get into this. So, okay, I think that's basically, I mean, it's also true. We can talk about stuff like dopamine and whatever, but at the same time, I mean, people talk about these whole dopamine things like they don't have the attention spans of goldfish. And I'm like, goldfish don't know they're trying to hold an attention span. Like, it's not a fair comparison. And two, Joe Rogan is off the charts in that it's a 3-hour thing. Like, look at the number of podcasts. Like, look at us, 3 hours. If you're still here, Victor and Austin, you two are heroes. Look at your attention spans, you goldfish, you. So it depends on if you have earned the right to keep someone's attention. And I think people are mad because it used to be so much easier to get attention just because I did a chicken suit and everybody showed up, and like, because there was nothing else to watch. Well, now you got 50,000 options. You got to work hard to actually demonstrate value and earn attention. So let's see.
And also, I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing to have like short chapters, because the book is still the same length. So it's like
the younger audience is also I think it also just depends on your audience. Like, fast action based stuff, it works well. Victor's talking about the uncanny valley is never going to be overcome. That's a really interesting thought. I'd never actually considered that. I think we'll still hit a point where video and audio, is as perfect as it can be, and we'll still reject what we're seeing in our core being. I think there's something there. That's a very interesting thought I need to mull on for a minute.
I read a little prompt on Instagram that was like, the fact that there's the natural fear of the uncanny valley implies that there was an evolutionary kind of reason for us to be afraid of something that looked human but wasn't quite. And I'm like, or evolution was ahead of its time and it was preparing us for AI videos.
Well, that was in the back of my mind. I couldn't remember it well enough. Thanks for bringing it up. I think there's something there. I don't know what it is, but I think there's definitely something there more than just schnitz and giggles. Okay, Austin says, regarding chapter length, Brandon Sanderson has really long chapters and 1 or 2 page chapters in his Stormlight series. Yeah, well, think about our beloved Twilight, Stephanie Meyer, and the chapter that goes November, right? Or whatever it was, September was over. It's just a one-word chapter. Okay. I don't think that we're going to get through everything else, so we're just going to have to come back and do this next week.
Yeah.
I want to talk about these 2026 trends for authors, predictions for indie publishing, because I think that's going to keep being a big deal for our community. How does an indie author become a one-person production studio? I'm fascinated by that question. And then we've got 2026, again, more author trends you need to know. I think this is going to be fun. We'll come back to it next year. And here we go. Look at this. Okay, we got way too much to get through. Also, if you haven't heard of them, there are 10 upcoming writer conferences for indie authors.
Oh, would you look at that?
I wasn't really going to, I don't know, like, there's Writers Digest University, and there's, I don't know, IPNE conference. I have no idea what these conferences are. San Diego Writers Festival. If that's the kind of thing that authors dig, what I might do is take all of these links and put them together in a blog post and just ship them under sort of the news clip, from this one here. I think we covered most of the stuff. We'll come back to that next week. We talked about this as an indie, and then I want you to tell me about Arcane. Again, coming back to this last thought, you cannot thrive as an indie author while waiting to be accepted by the machine. The posture is self-defeating. You'll make branding decisions that serve neither goal. You'll pull punches to stay palatable, and worst of all, you'll build an audience you don't actually want, full of people who will abandon you the moment that you say something unapproved. Anything go through your mind as you read or you hear that, Gabby?
Well, yes. Who was it the other day? Allie Hazelwood. Not the other day. It was last year. But who remembers when Allie Hazelwood said that she liked Gale better than PETA? And all of the internet just rose up against her.
I wasn't there for that.
She made a laughing comment about her opinion on the Hunger Games, and she had to get off of Instagram because everybody else had risen up against her so hard. And number one, as an indie author, so an author who is traditionally published, that's hard enough in itself. But at least, you have the publisher backing you. You still got, clout. You've got other people worrying about your other things. You probably have a PR assistant, whatever the case may be. As an indie author, when you're trying to do all of that yourself and then people hate you, you don't got time for that. So if you're expecting to try and get to everyone who is going to get upset when you say something that is not for everyone, that's just absolutely self-defeating. And also it defeats the purpose of indie publishing. I mean, you're indie publishing because you're publishing something that traditional publishers are not going to pick up, and traditional publishers are only going to pick up the stuff that is safe to sell because they need to make money. They have people to feed. I can't, it's frustrating in a way, but I can't completely fault traditional publishers for playing it a little safe because you are a massive business. You've got employees to feed. You got to make money. What you going to do? Okay, fine. I get that. But if you're indie publishing, that means you're not trying to be part of that. So don't lean into yourself, lean into that controversial thing you have to say, that new take on whatever. You got to lean into you. And that is what you, like it said, you're going to find the audience that is just right for you. Because as much as traditional publishers appeal to the masses, that doesn't mean that there aren't people who want something other than for the masses. You have an audience. They just happen to be subsumed into the masses for now because that's what is being published. But when they find you, they are going to be your diehard fans.
Absolutely. Well, probably the last thought here from Victor. He says, the current monoculture. I love that word mono. You throw it on stuff and it's so good. Monoculture of reading, like book talk, prioritizes volume and speed and the performative aspect of reading and showcasing books. Yeah, that's a thing too. That's what happens when, frankly, narcissists ruin everything for everybody. They don't genuinely care. They are phenomenal at performative anything, collecting, talking about it, demonstrating, and then something goes wrong and then they're gone. And that's why I do think sometimes you don't have to be better than somebody else. You just have to outlast them. Just got to wait a minute longer. And then they'll flake because it didn't happen as fast as I wanted it to. So let's close with some wonderful writing advice, which I think is absolutely perfect. Controversial writing tip. Open a document and start writing. Blocked.
I love that.